What's good, everybody? This is Ray Daniels, aka the Culture Referee, and I'm here to talk to you about Two Loss Distribution. They are one of the most technologically advanced distributors in music. They distribute to more stores than any of the distributors around. They distribute, they give you 100% of your royalties. They only charge you $3 a month, and you have an instant option to get an advance from these guys. So if you're watching this and you want to be in the music business and you're trying to figure out how to get help, I'm here to tell you, go to twoloss.com and use the word GODS as your coupon code, and you get the first 3 months free.
And 3, 2.
What's good, everybody? This is Ray Daniels, aka the Culture Referee, and this is the God Show. Let's go. And today we have a very special guest. The way I would like to describe us is that we both pick jobs where we could wear sneakers to work. To me, my whole life, my only thing that I wanted to do was just not wear a suit and a tie to work. Like that said that I sold out. So as soon as I see you sitting with your legs crossed, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. We have someone in here who understands the concept of being comfortable at work. Let's give it up for the Atlanta Hawks CMO, also author of the book From Ball Girl to CMO, Melissa Proctor. Let's go.
Thank you.
Melissa, where you from?
Miami, Florida, born and raised.
Okay, nice. Born and raised. You don't say Dade County?
I don't say county of Dade.
You know what I'm saying? You know, sometimes when you represent the job, you got to make sure they understand, I can't be. You got to wing, like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I've been in Atlanta since 2002 now.
Okay.
So Atlanta's definitely more home.
Yeah.
But I always love Miami.
So I have this thing that I say to young black kids, and you're proving my point. My frustration always was, when I was a kid, they only focused on the athletes, the really smart kids, or the musically gifted kids. The other 80% of us was just, what happens to us, right? And the reason why I say that is because when you look at sports, like when young black kids say they want to be an athlete, no one ever says, you can be a coach.
Yeah.
Like, I think about Miami Heat coach, how he started 18 years
room.
old in the tape room, and now he's the youngest coach in the game. And for me, so my son wants to play basketball, and I'm like, son, you have a way longer career if you learn the X's and O's of the sport. So to see you go from a ball girl to CMO, I just want to, let's all give an applause to that.
Thank you.
But my thing is, what made you, was this a plan? Did you stumble upon it? Like, how'd you end up in sports? And how did you, after ending up in sports, realize I can have a career in this that has nothing to do with playing the game?
You know, that's a great question, because for so long, people are like, oh man, how does it feel to make it?
Yeah.
In my mind, I don't think you made it until you own the team.
Yes.
Ooh. That's a whole different scenario.
Yes.
So I'm blessed to be in the position that I'm in, but I said I was born and raised in Miami. My mother's from Belize. My father's from Jamaica.
Okay.
And so growing up,
Child of immigrants is different.
First generation.
First generation.
I had never played any sports. They didn't watch any sports. I knew nothing of football, baseball, none of that. I had a cousin that started watching basketball in the Miami Heat. And so when I was around 15, I was talking to my mom. I told her I wanted to get a job, but I wanted to go to like the movie theater, hang out with friends, Publix, bagging groceries. And she said, Mel, you can only get a job for whatever you want to do for the rest of your life. And she was a registered nurse. Like, she was an RN nurse. My whole work double, triple shifts. Yeah. And so at 15, I was like, I was an artist. I had done visual arts, so drawing, painting, more of a creative. Yeah. But I loved watching basketball with my cousin. Yeah. And whenever I watched basketball, I never saw women on the sidelines. There were no female refs, no female coaches. So I told my mother I was going to be the first female coach in the NBA. Wow. And she said, okay, go get a job in the NBA. And that's literally how it started. I started writing letters to the Heat. I would draw on the envelopes. I would call the 1-800 number, customer service.
So you didn't have an end.
I knew no one. I had never been to a professional sporting event. I knew no players. Had never been to a basketball game at the then Miami Arena. Yeah. And so I wrote letters, and then I called one day. I got in touch with someone in community relations. He was like, hey, I'm sorry, I don't have any jobs for you for kids. He's like, try the equipment manager. He hires the ball boys. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. Exactly. So I finally got in touch with him, called a bunch of times. One day he's like, if you call me one more time, I'm not going to hire you. Then I stopped for a minute and I kept on calling. And then he really tried to discourage me. He was like, this is grunge work. You come in early, you stay late, you mop sweat, you fold towels. By the way, it doesn't pay. You work for tips at the end of the night for whatever's left over from the visiting team's equipment manager, but that was it.
Yeah.
And so at one point, because I kept calling, I was so persistent. He was like, you know what? You got a lot of heart. Why don't you come in for a preseason game?
Yes.
That was my first time ever in the Miami arena for a sporting
how old are you
event.
at this time?
I was 16.
Oh, you...
Yeah, started when I was 15 and finally got in when I was 16.
I wish my son was here to see this because I want him to see this. Like, this is beautiful.
You know how often now these days I get parents reaching out to me to try to get their kids jobs, and I'm like, I don't respect it.
Yeah.
I was like, the kid needs to understand and have some skin in the game. And so because
Hold on.
Man, I tell you how many parents reach out to me.
Again. I just need you to say that one time. Parents reach out to you saying what?
No, I would love for my child to have a job or an internship. My son just graduated from Morehouse or wherever. Would love for them to meet. I said, why didn't your son reach out to me?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it? But literally, maybe in the last 5 to 10 years, it's been so many more parents reaching out on behalf of their children. And I'm like, your kids are never going to learn.
Nah.
Like, you got to be, literally today, I got an email from someone and I said, no disrespect. I don't talk to parents.
But let me tell you what made me think that. That's why I asked you how old you were.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, 18 doing that. I mean, kudos, but you're still grown. 16 doing that. That difference between 16 and 18 is so huge in the journey because you were out there at 16. You were getting told no. Like,
oh yeah.
And I think parents, obviously I'm a parent, I understand the nature to want to protect your child.
100%.
But we can't protect our kid from the world. All we can do is prepare them and have them. So that's why I wish my son was here because I'm like, he loves sports so much. And I'm like, here's a career. Yeah. But it can't be something I can do for him. Like, I can't make the phone call. I can't try. All I can do, and I tell this to my kids, all I can do. Do you have kids?
I do. I have a 9-year-old daughter.
So all I tell my kids is all I can do is make sure that when you walk into the room and you say your last name is Daniels, and they connect you to me, all I can do is make sure that I put in so much cultural currency that they might say, oh, okay. I'm going to keep an eye on you because who your father is, right? Correct. So that's all we can do as a parent. I can't do nothing else because they'll fuck it up. So I love that you said that you did it, and I also love that you don't allow parents to do it. That's beautiful.
It happens so often.
Yeah.
But because I did it, I really respect, and if someone young reaches out to me, and mind you, I can't respond to every single person, but
don't hit her. We don't need 300 emails.
I mean, it's cool.
Parents, don't log into your kids' emails. Send her your email from your son. LinkedIn. She's gonna be able to tell if your 15-year-old has a LinkedIn. She's gonna know it's you, mom. So don't do it. Like,
but the other part, and I realize it now as a chief marketing officer. People are like, I want to work in marketing for sports, and I was like, okay. That's great. I always ask why, because the why is important, but they never think about how they market themselves.
Yes.
To me, for a job. So you're saying you can market this product or this brand, but you don't really think about how you market you. And so I realized that the reason I even got the call back was because of what I did. And the equipment manager said it. He was like, I love your drawings. I was drawing pictures of Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway and
Ronnie
Heat logos
and all,
whatever I could do for relevance. And it helped me to stand out. And I didn't know what branding was at the time. Yeah. But I didn't gone to grad school for brand strategy. And I'm like, man, it was so innate at 15, 16. And it was like, how do I get them to read this letter over any other letter they get?
So 15, 16, you're working your career move, but you still go to college because you still want to?
Well, at that time, I said I wanted to coach. Mind you, I've never played basketball a day in my life. So it's real hard to decide you're going to be an NBA coach and you never played the game. Yeah. But when I got there, I was mopping up sweat. I learned everything on the court. So girls couldn't go in the locker room back then. So all the ball boys could, but I had to work on the court. So Stan Van Gundy was an assistant. I was helping them set drills with players before the doors open.
What?
Tim Hardaway was teaching me how to shoot free throws. And it was so much fun. But Pat Riley was head coach then. And matter of fact, you mentioned Eric Spoelstra. He was the tape guy when I was a ball girl. And so Pat would have this blue pad of paper and he'd be drawing up plays during the game. I would collect all the papers at the end of the night. I had a binder of plays. I don't even know what I'm looking at. But in my heart, I was like, one day I'm going to be a coach.
But that made them love you.
Yeah.
Because
I was hustling.
To me, the one thing that people don't understand is that you have to do, like Terry said right now, I just was talking about this on the show. I'm like, you got to do the work. Yeah. And everybody wants a job so bad, but I don't think they want the work. They want the job because the job says I'm doing something and it says I have income. But the work though, if you love the work, you'll have a pay forever because you love the work.
Facts. And this was no income. This may be
that's
like
what I'm saying.
20,
but that's what I'm saying. Like that's beautiful because
$20,
you
$40
love
a game.
The work.
I enjoyed it so. It's probably one of the best jobs I ever had.
Yeah.
And I would sit courtside, and Magic Johnson would sit behind me. Jimmy Buffett would sit behind. I didn't know who Jimmy Buffett was.
Yeah.
People kept asking him for his autograph. I'm like, who is this guy? My rookie year was Kobe's rookie year.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like watching him on TV and doing stuff. So it was such an amazing time to be around basketball.
Yeah.
It's like the Heat would get in these awesome rivalries with the Knicks and Patrick Ewing and Alonzo, or
fighting on the floor.
Yeah. I mean, Dennis Rodman was my favorite player in the league. So when the Bulls came to town, I loved Dennis
That says
Rodman.
a lot.
It's the creativity.
Hold on, that says a lot though.
It's all about hustle. It's the work.
Yes,
it was the grind.
By the way, what people don't understand, Melissa, I gotta tell you this. I test people all the time when they say they want to be a songwriter. I'm who you like. They think it means nothing, but if you say, man, I like Babyface and Neo, I already know what your style of writing is. You see what I'm trying to say? So when you say, like, my favorite player of all time is Steph Curry, and I tell people the reason why he's my favorite player is because, and you a fan of basketball, so you get this. Up until he won that championship, the statement was, you don't win championships with jump shots. That's what the most famous saying. You know that.
I do.
And Steph changed. They don't say that no more because
he changed everyone's
He changed
perspective.
everything. He changed the perception of the jump shot and when you can win with it. And now you got center shooting jump shots. But I'm a disruptor naturally, so I'd gravitate to the disruptor who did it without saying I'm disrupting. Yeah. So when you say my favorite player is Dennis Rodman. That was scary because I'm like, number one, is he a favorite player or personality? Because if he's your favorite player, I'm cool with that because he's a hustler. But you don't like his personality, do you? Because we don't need Melissa coming in with different color hair.
Nah. I mean, we don't take it that far. We don't take it that far. But it was so cool being in the league at that time, and I was still creating art. So at the time, I'm at a magnet high school in Miami doing graphic design as a major in like 10th grade.
Yeah.
Doing graphic design projects with people. I had a gallery exhibitions for my artwork. I had players wanting to buy pieces of my art. So everyone was like, "Oh, you're gonna be an artist," and I'm like, no, I really love basketball.
Exactly.
So around my senior year of high school, there was a woman that worked for the Heat who went to Wake Forest. I never heard of Wake Forest, went to Salem, North Carolina. I know nothing of Winston. I'm born and raised in Miami.
Yeah.
But she talked about it, and she said their motto is pro humanitate, which means for humanity.
Okay.
And at the time, I was volunteering. I was helping kids that wanted to do art. I was a candy striper at the hospital with my mom, plus working for the Heat, volunteering with the women's basketball team at the University of Miami because I just wanted to be around basketball. And I was an intern for the Miami Herald newspaper in graphic design. So at the time, it was anything I could do to just learn, I was really interested in. And so I decided to go to Wake because they gave me a good scholarship, art scholarship. And when I got there, everyone, to your earlier point, everyone was like, oh, what sport you play? And I was like, I'm here on art and academics, y'all.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you go to Winston-Salem State? Because that's the black college down the street. I was like, no, I go to Wake Forest.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting time.
Because they had a sports program, a pretty big one. That Tim Duncan and Chris Paul came. Yeah,
exactly.
it was D1. So it's better to be in that area.
I was trying to be around
it.
Exactly.
Sure.
But then every summer I would go back to the Heat and I would volunteer at the draft, free agency, putting together scouting reports. They had launched the Miami Soul, which was a WNBA team they had for a short time.
Yeah.
I got to help them launch that. Like, it was phenomenal. And then my senior year when I graduated, I was like, all right, I'm probably not going to coach now.
Yeah.
And Bob McAdoo, who was an assistant with the Heat at the time, who I love, Bob was like, Mel, it's going to be real hard for you to coach if you never even played the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think you're right, Bob.
Yeah.
I understood it. And it, because I was around it and I saw all the other opportunities in the front office, I was like, okay, being around basketball would be cool. So I applied for a management training program at Secaucus, New Jersey at the league headquarters.
Yeah.
And I was like, just in case I don't get this, I'm going to still apply to stay in grad school at Wake. I had Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning write letters of recommendation for me. Oh, wow. So I was trying to use every opportunity I had to make sure I got this job. Fast forward, do the interview. Interview went great. Got a phone call. They're like, Melissa, we love you. You come highly recommended. But the NBA is a business. We feel that you're too creative for us. So we're going to pass on the opportunity to allow you into this internship program.
Heartbroken.
I was crushed. Because everything else up to that point, like
I'm
I
too
worked
creative.
hard.
Like I'm too creative. That's a great thing.
Well, later on, I learned that NBA really kind of stands for nothing but attorneys. Because if you look at it, David Stern was an attorney, Adam Silver's an attorney. Their entire business model is licensing and rights, media rights. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And so, like, now in retrospect, I'm like, I probably was.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, what? And then Wake Forest, I was like, all right, well, I'll just stay in school, get a master's. They were like, we love you. I worked in a comm department. I was a TA. I did all the things. They were like, we feel like you're using this as a crutch. And we don't give you anything to fall back on. So we're not going to allow you the opportunity to stay here in school because we think you're going to do other stuff. So I had nothing. And then at the very end of all of it, there was a woman in the communications department said, hey, you ever heard of Turner? I was like, I don't know what a Turner is.
Yeah.
He's like, they have this internship program and it's called T3. It was the Turner trainee team and all it said was send us your talent in a project.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I
Yeah.
was so excited to figure out how to show my talent in a project.
Yeah.
So doing research, I found out, it's CNN, Cartoon Network,
Yeah.
TNT, TBS. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so I made this TV Guide magazine. It's my senior year of college.
Yeah.
With pictures of me. I had a huge fro at the time. I made myself Cleopatra in a Turner Classic movie ad.
Yeah.
I made myself a black Powerpuff Girl for Cartoon Network. And then ultimately, I sent it in and TNT Marketing said, you sold yourself well to us. We think you would do a great job of selling our content to consumers. And that's how I got my first job in marketing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's incredible.
Let's go.
No. By the way, I'm blown away because I just had this conversation today. Because I just hired somebody full time, and shout out to Chastity, and I'm like, I didn't know that I was gonna hire her. She just showed up one day, and then I needed something done. And it wasn't even something that she brought it to me. Basically, she was trying to get me she worked at another pod and she was like, hey, do you want to interview this person? He's about to do our show. And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to interview him. And she was like, who sends your, she was like, so who from your team sends out the emails to the people for this stuff? And I was like, well, nobody. I kind of know everybody. So I just hit people and say, you want to do the show? And she was like, oh, okay, cool. So she said, oh, okay, cool. So I said, let me figure it out. And within 30 minutes, she formulated an email for me to send to Dr. Umar. Like, hey, this is Ray Daniel. And she literally said, copy and paste this. Doesn't know. She works for somebody else. I'm like, wow, I need that in my life. Because what people don't understand is that everybody, what you didn't do, you didn't wait for permission.
Right.
You literally, and you found out later, you was marketing yourself, but you literally just was like, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And I want to be around it. I don't want to go like I like my son wants to be in sports. We're going to start shooting a podcast this weekend. And I'm like, and he's like, Dad, I'm like, I'm only doing this for you. I have a popping podcast. This is for people to see your interest and your love in sports so you can create your own brand and everything. So he's like, oh, okay. But I'm like, so many people I know come to you, come to me and be like, man, if I just had an opportunity. And I'm like, if you have an opportunity to say, I need an opportunity, then you have an opportunity.
Correct.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like if you have, if you can walk up to me and say, I need an opportunity, you can also walk up, see the opportunity, do it and say, oh, by the way, here's your water, Ray, because I know you was thirsty. And I'm like, how the fuck did you know I wanted water? Who is this guy? No, I just heard you say you wanted water. I don't mind. I'm like, keep him around because you have what people don't understand is that you cannot. Everybody likes to ride the ride. Mm-hmm. Somebody has to drive that motherfucker. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it's like, and I want people around me who are focusing on driving because I want to take my hands off the wheel. So you think you want to get on the bus? I'm trying to get you the seat so I can sit down and ride. But
100%.
But you're so busy trying to figure out what's. I'm like, bro, you just got to show up. But I love this. This is like such an inspiring. I love the fact that I would be mad if you didn't write a book.
Well, first of all, I don't read books. I ain't got time to write a book. It took me years to write this little baby pamphlet. And it's literally a book that I would read because it gives you everything you need real quick. But in it, I got a chapter on doing the job you want before you have it. Mm-hmm. And it's for exactly that reason. I wanted to work in branding. I got my internship at Turner, learned about it, loved TNT marketing, was a ball girl on the court for the Hawks, actually, my first year in Atlanta. Yeah. In 2002 was when the All-Star game was here. I got to work the court on that game, work in the office during the daytime. And it was great, but I really wanted to work in branding. So I got an opportunity to go to graduate school. So I went to grad school in London, focused on brand strategy, came back to Turner like, all right, y'all, I'm ready for this brand job. They're like, we ain't got none. So I spent 3 years doing on-air graphics for TBS and TNT. As
a freelancer?
No, still work. It was a full-time job, but it wasn't in what I really wanted to do.
Got you, okay.
And so I kept taking these other positions on. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to work in branding, to your point. I got a T-shirt. A friend of mine had a shirt that said, free hugs, we all need one. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I bought one online, and then the founder of the company personally emails everyone that buys a shirt to thank them for supporting their vision of letting everyone know that they matter.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's really
beautiful.
dope.
Yeah.
So I wrote him back. I was like, I love this. This is beautiful. I want to help you grow your brand. I'll work for free.
Yeah.
I'll be your director of brand strategy,
Yeah.
whichever.
Yeah.
So I ended up meeting the guy. Turns out he's from the same neighborhood in Miami that I'm from, Richmond Heights.
Oh, wow.
He lived here in Atlanta, was a team of one, had a homie that worked at Kinko's at the time, had a friend that printed shirts, and he was just creating his own business. And I was like, I'll get you international orders because I just came out of grad school. Started getting him international orders. So he was like, all right, I'll let you be my director of brand strategy, design business cards, handing them out. So then I put it on a resume.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I was able to create a partnership between this Free Hugs guy and TBS because they had needs and he was doing certain things and they aligned. Created a brand partnership. Internally in Turner, TBS was like, oh, wow, you get it. You understand our brand and what we need from a business perspective.
Yeah.
And that opportunity opened up the door for a brand strategy position bigger than any other one they had before.
I always say, don't know your worth, show your worth.
Yeah.
People always want to, I know my worth. Well, I don't. And guess what? If you don't fucking go out there and do it, who will ever know your worth?
Correct.
And if it's really who you are, then just do it.
Well, it's the people who are like, I want to work in marketing, but I don't have any experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, do you get your hair done? Do you go to the club? Do you like a certain clothing brand? Whatever it is, you can help them for free.
Yes.
All you got to do is create a case study. What did
Yeah.
you do? How did you grow it? And then put it on your resume.
you
No
know
one
what-
needs to know you
and-
didn't get paid. Like,
And I tell people the number one case study is you.
yeah.
Like I am everything I do, I see from the eye of the consumer because I'm a consumer. I know what I want. I know what will work for me. I know what won't. And when I was making music, that was my only thing I applied. Do I like the song? Because I like it. Like that should be enough for me. Because it's not like the people in the music industry know more than me. I like this song, and I literally just applied myself and just was like doing the work, not knowing.
Yeah.
I'm doing the work. I didn't know I was doing the work. I'm just so enamored by this that I want to be, when it comes up, I want to be able to say, I know it. I have a thought on that. That's my only, I just didn't want to be in a room and they talk about something and I don't know it.
Right.
Because I feel like if I'm your peer, I should know it. And that's how we know who knows what during conversations, i.e. why I started a podcast. Because I was like, in my world, you don't know me unless you know me for what you know me for. So how do you know how smart I am? Like literally there are people, like Akon was in here one day. He was like, Ray, I didn't know you was that smart. He's like, if I knew you was that smart, I would have gave you a job back there. I didn't know you was, if I don't sit in this chair and start talking, how do people know how smart you are? Unless you create the opportunity like you did. But if you don't, how do they know?
They never know.
That's why I love everything you're saying. Like, to me, this episode needs to be taught in college class. I mean, kids classes, like elementary school. They need to hear this.
They don't know. And people aren't teaching them anymore.
And their parents, no disrespect, can't teach them because they didn't do it. Like my son is so geared up for his dream. Does he know what it is? No. Probably, he kind of knows he wants to be in sports, but he looks at his teacher like, you're just, like, well, I saw the teacher as the end all be all. Like, if this teacher doesn't give me a good grade or say I'm good, then I'm not good enough.
Yeah, nah.
My son sees the teacher as like, you just here, I'm just gonna get through this, but the world is way bigger out there, and I know that I can go out there. And to me, that's power. So sometimes teachers like, oh, he doesn't take what we say serious. I'm like, well, have you made him feel like that? Maybe he doesn't think it's serious. Like, I'm sorry if that offends you if he doesn't care about that. Like, he doesn't.
Well,
like,
also the world is so different. Like, my daughter wants to be a YouTuber. So I was like, hey, if you make $1 million on YouTube before you graduate high school, then great. You ain't got to go.
Bro, listen.
And if you do.
I tell people this.
She's 9. She's like, okay, mommy.
No, I tell people this. I'm like, the earlier you can start, the better. If your kid is 10 years old, 11 years old, they want to be a YouTuber, let them. Like, how about this? If they want to be something you've never heard of, let them. Because 15 years ago when kids said they wanted to be a YouTuber, parents was like, what? The fuck? You gonna get you a job. And then you realize people like Ryan, that kid Ryan and Mr. Beast is making hundreds of millions of dollars. Now people like, get a camera on, talk in front of the camera. Like, your kid has a vantage point on the world that you will never understand. They were born in a world where technology was in their face. They were born, my daughter was 1.5 working an iPad. Like, they were born in that, you see what I'm saying? So our job as parents is to really just kind of almost just prepare them for anything that pops up. But you can't, like, to telling them what to do and be a doctor and a lawyer. Man, if my kids want to be a YouTuber, Melissa, I will buy 50 cameras for every room and every angle. What? I understand the importance of it.
Right. And I told my daughter that, and she's like, okay, so you're going to make some content? I don't know. I was like, well, then you ain't ready for it. Yeah. And that's okay, too.
Yeah. Exactly.
But growing up, my father wanted me to be a physical therapist.
Yep.
He's Jamaican, born and raised. He's like, you'll always have a job.
Yep.
And that was his mind. That's all he cared about.
Yep.
And so when I started getting older and in my career, he was like, oh, I'm glad you didn't listen to me.
You figured it out.
He's like,
good. Don't listen to me.
You did
Don't listen to me.
My mom was a nurse. She was like, if you're going to go into medicine, be a doctor. Don't be a nurse.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm not really into this medical thing.
Yeah,
but they
like
supported me in everything that I did. So, I was appreciative.
That's amazing. So what made you write your book? I'm not gonna call it a pamphlet.
It's a book.
What was the thought process, and who was it for, and what did you want them to get from it? Like when you was writing the book, because you market it.
Yeah.
So everything is intent with you, from the jacket to the sneakers.
Well, I mean,
we better represent.
We launched this last game for our women's empowerment night.
How does she talk? She talks good. What does she have on? Hawks jacket. My girl. She gets it.
Well, this was actually a thing we did with our Lady Hawks organization internally. So 100% of the profits go to Dress for Success. So we do it for every women's empowerment night game. We launched it, and my daughter actually wanted it. So I was like, you know what?
I'm doing something.
We'll get it.
Exactly.
We'll get it. It's cool.
Exactly.
But actually, my book, I wrote it for my daughter. 100%. So like I said, I'm not a big reader.
Yeah.
I had no desire growing up, like one day I'm gonna write a book. But when I was working at Turner, as I started as an intern, my career grew. When I left there, I was about a VP of marketing and communications before I got laid off at 8 months pregnant, which is a whole other story. But while I was coming up, because I started as an intern, HR would use me to go out and recruit people.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, listen to her story. This is how. So she used to mop sweat for the heat. She did. And so every time I would speak, people were like, you should write a book. Like, your story is so interesting.
Yeah.
This was before I was ever a CMO, before I even came back into basketball. And I was like, okay, cool. When I had my daughter, I realized that, my mom passed away 2 years before my daughter was born. And I'm an only child, so I didn't have any other siblings. And my parents were divorced, and I spent more time with my mom.
Yeah.
Love my dad, we're very close. But I had so many questions for my mother after my daughter was born that I would have never thought to ask her before I became a mom. And then I was like, damn, if anything happens to me when my daughter is still young, God forbid, she won't know my story from me. She's gonna do what I'm doing now, which is like talking to aunties, uncles, friends, trying to piece together parts of my mom.
Nah.
She had a photo album and some dude with a picture some guy named Rupert. I'm like, who is Rupert?
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "Woo, girl, let me tell you about Rupert." And so I was kind of like, you know what? Let me put this down for her, just in case.
Yeah.
So I started a blog on Medium because at the time I was like, all right, I'll try to type. So I said, I'm gonna have like 12 chapters by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Whole year went by, I had 2. Then I was like, all right, I'm gonna start writing it, like in Word and try to put together chapters of a book. And I was like, 1 year I had a friend of mine I was gonna edit. End of the next year, I think I had another 2 chapters.
Yeah.
I was like, this ain't it. So a friend of mine said, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine who has a publishing company locally. A woman named Renita Bryant. Shout out Mind Matters Publishing.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. He said, all right, I'll introduce you. Never happened. A year later, I ran into him again. He's like, oh yeah, we didn't do that. So we have lunch. We all sit down. I meet her, love her.
Yeah.
At the end, she's like, Melissa, you want to really get this book out? I was like, yeah. I sent her my little blog and my she's like, okay, we can partner with you on that. She's like, what is your goal? I was like, I'm gonna have a book done by the end of the year. She's like, all right. A year later, I had like another 2-3 chapters. So it wasn't a problem. It wasn't. It's like this is about 3-4 years in.
I gotta ask you a question though. So is it like over 3 or 4 years? You got 8 chapters now because you had 2.
Nah. It wasn't even that.
2 chapters.
It wasn't even that coordinated. Okay. It was like a little paragraph.
Yeah. Okay.
And and I wanted to do it, but I wasn't dedicated. I wasn't into it. And plus, I had a really busy life. I'm a new mom. I got stuff going on, and so the pandemic happens. The world shut down.
Yep.
And it gave me all the time I needed to actually complete the task. And I had every year I had my goals. I'm like, I'm gonna finish the book this year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish the book this year. That was it. And so I was working so diligently on it during that time. At one point we're talking about like cover design, pricing strategy, stuff that I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
But I was really just writing it for my daughter. I had a cousin, my cousin Cecily, who really helped me pull stories out. They were interviewing me. And so by the time I got done with it, I was like, oh man, this feels cool. It's not too long. It's not complicated. I actually put the T3, the magazine that I made to get my job at Turner, I put it in the back of the book because I realized that's how I sold myself to Turner, but people don't really understand how to sell themselves. So I'm like, every single page from cover to cover is in there, smaller format. And at the end, she was like, you want images? I was like, I want color images all throughout. She's like, that doesn't make sense for business. I don't care about business. Yeah. I wasn't in it to make $1.
I'm a marketing girl. I understand what those colors do.
Well, I was in it to write a book for my daughter, not even to market it. I didn't really care who else read it, in all honesty. Like, dope. It was a very intentional project.
That's dope.
And so at the end, she's like, I don't want to belittle you, but we're kind of done now. Have you thought about marketing it? I know you're a CMO. And I was like, honestly, I haven't. And this is 2020, middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so I was done. Then.
What's good, everybody? This is Ray Daniels, aka the Culture Referee. And if you were wondering who this beautiful woman sitting next to me is my sister Tiffany Daniels Sai. Let's give it up for my sister. Everybody can clap. This is good. And my sister she's the most talented person in the family, and we started a family business, a signature scent company. So if you smoke a lot of weed in your car and you want to get the scent out, you have to check out these scents. I know guys that use it for the weed. I know people that use it for cologne, and everywhere they go to get compliments. We make candles. We make
room sprays. We got them in kits. So if you want to buy something for your loved one or anybody that you care about, hit us up, LorraineCo.com.
And we're going to put the website at the bottom of it. But support this black business, support this black woman, and order, I promise you guys. As a matter of fact, use the word gods, and we'll give you 15% off. I just made that up, so if my sister's face looks crazy, don't get mad at her. I'll eat that. But guys, when I tell you this shit is incredible, you really should check this out.
The best scents ever.
LorraineCo.com. And we'll put it at the bottom of the screen. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a launch, didn't do anything that I would have done now. I think I did a couple of IG lives. I'm like, let's talk about your book. Okay. School me on how to be number one on Amazon bestsellers and all of that. And then I did it, and that was 2020. And so now I do speaking engagements. People reach out to me. I look at the reviews. Someone told me the other day, you got 50 or 60 reviews. I'm like,
really?
From who? People that I don't even know. And it blows my mind. But what I've learned is that all of the insight that I wanted to pour into my daughter has been so helpful and insightful for people, mid-level professionals who don't know what they want to be when I grow up. I say that to this day. You would ask me 10 years ago, would I be CMO with the Hawks? I'd be like, nah, but anything is possible.
Yep.
And I was always open to that.
Yeah.
And so it's just been the blessing that it keeps on giving to multiple people. And I love that.
I was going to tell you, I wrote a book, and I'm I have a publisher out shopping it now, but I wrote it to the 14-year-old Ray. And it's funny because my father died too, and my father died 2002. So I had that, I understand that 2-year moment of being with no mother and no child. You kind of feel alone. You're searching for at least me, I know I was searching for that male figure, because it was my dad ain't here, and this is right when I figured out I want to be somebody. When you got your dad in your life when you're young, everything is cool, but when you want to be somebody, now you're seeking that information.
Yeah.
And I remember when my son was born, that was when I knew I couldn't. It was okay, well, I'm a dad now. I'm the character now. So I'm up. Exactly. So that's when you said that. I just really relate to that. And even with us starting off talking about the sneakers, my 15-year-old self would be that's your life? Yes! You're gonna look at Phil I'm gonna be happy. You know what I mean? It's that's what life looks like, because when you're a kid, you don't know what life looks like. You don't know what the world is. You don't know how the world's gonna receive you. You don't even realize there is a world. You just live in your little world with your mother and your family, and then you wake up one day and you want to be somebody, and now it's so I understand that. And to me, that's what this is for me. My only fear in life, knock on wood, when I'm asking my only fear in life is dying and someone else raising my kids. Someone telling my kid what the world is like. And the reason why that's my fear is because when I was a kid, they told me what the world was like, and I believed them. So they was you're gonna go to the army, and you're gonna make $1,500 a month, and you're gonna get a check, and that's what I believed it. And then one day I was I don't want to do that shit. I want to go to fucking army. My recruiter, I signed up and everything. My recruiter sent me a. I feel bad for him. But listen, I went through the whole process with this.
Then you were never mind.
I was going to the Air Force. I took the ASVAB test. He was spending time with my family. And then right after, because once you take the test, they know you qualify. That's what they was so I passed the ASVAB test. He was oh, okay, you can be one of us. So this motherfucker called me 6 a.m. after the ASVAB. And I remember just waking up. This is the house phone days. And I remember waking up hello?
At the house phone.
Ray, what's up? How you doing, man? What's up? Man, it's 6 a.m. Man, you need to get used to this, man. This time you're going to be waking up for the rest of your life. I hung up the phone.
That's all you needed?
Nah, that shit ain't for me. I said, I'm going to find me a job. I'm not going to the army. And my thing is so for me, it's when you speak on that, I love that so much, because I believe that our generation is the first generation where generational wealth was even a thought, right?
Absolutely.
Our parents taught
100%.
Our parents taught us a job. Your mom and dad telling you, preparing you to have a job for the rest of your life is their way of saying, I never have to worry about you again if you do this.
Correct. Double, triple shifts. That's what it is.
That's what it is. But when you think about, this is the first generation of generational wealth. But I also think that we also, and I don't think you have this problem, and I know I don't, because you got to get to a certain level of success, right? Because what happens is that, you know, if you're looking for your success and your kids are looking for success, we all fucked. Because who the fuck leading who? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? So when the teacher goes at your kid, or when the teacher tells you, you can't do that, or the parent is the person that really shapes the mind to say, yes, the fuck I can.
Yeah.
Fuck you think this is? And for me, I don't want no one to ever tell my kid, you can't. Because they told me my whole life you can't. And I showed that I could. And that shit fucks with me. That's why when you say you wrote it to your daughter, I'm like, I get it. And guess what? I don't care if 90 of y'all read it, but I wrote it because I want her to see it. And you know, I tell people, I never give you advice that I wouldn't give my kid. I never tell your kid something that I wouldn't tell mine. So that means I feel safe reading the book because I know you wrote it to your kid and not my kid. You know what I'm trying to say? What I mean by that? You know, like especially in rap music. Like in rap music, a nigga.
I'm not trying to present anything else.
In rap music, a nigga rap about how much dope he sold, but put his kid in private school. Oh, so you sold dope to my kids, but your kid go to. So when you figure that type of shit, I'm like, oh no, Ray Daniels is gonna be around to raise mine. No one is gonna tell mine what they are in this world. I'm gonna tell them, and I'm not gonna even tell them. I'm gonna say you wherever you want to be, and I got your back to get there. So I love that.
My daughter and I have our thing. I said, you could do what? He's like, I can be what? Anything. I can be what? Anything.
Yep.
And I try my best to reinforce it all the time. And now she's 9. She's into anime. Yeah. She hates sports.
Yes.
Doesn't want to come to Hawks games, which blows my mind. I'm like,
I just wish she wanted to get a Trae Young autograph.
No,
like, let me
no
show
desire.
You. No desire. Yeah.
I go to her school to talk. They be like, oh yeah, wow, your mom works for the Hawks. Yeah. She's like, oh, isn't that so cool? Like, she's my mom. I mean, it's whatever. I am so unimpressive to her, but it doesn't even matter to me. Like she's so awesome.
I love that.
And I'm so grateful. That's my number one job.
Yeah,
the Hawks are cool. That's my number one job.
Listen, and if anybody has a problem with that, they don't understand life and they don't care about you. So run away from them anyway. Like, anytime somebody in here got something going on, if it's for their kids, I don't care what it is, stop. Handle that. Because they're not going to be a kid for long. And you're going to pray that, you're going to wish that you prioritized them when they was younger, because once they get older, they don't care.
You, this morning, she's like, you come to chapel with me at school? I was like, okay, I got some stuff there. Okay, I'll be there.
Exactly.
And I was leaving. I had a lot going on. I was like, one day she ain't going to ask you to come. No,
yes.
She's not going to want you to be anywhere around her. So.
Yes. She gonna, damn, Ma. Like, friends coming around for Hawks stuff. Like, Ma. Like, sometimes we want my son friends to just know his daddy is really cool.
Oh, yeah. No, I am not cool.
You're not cool?
I am. Oh, man. Somebody asked her the other day at a game. They're like, oh, man, your mom is the coolest. No, someone stopped us. We were at a restaurant. They're like, are you Melissa? She's like, how do they know you? She's like, I follow you on LinkedIn. I'm in marketing. I'm such a fan. Yeah. And I was like, I'm talking to the young lady. And she's like, your mom is so amazing. Yeah. She is gold. She is this. My daughter was like, okay.
Okay. I hope she has my clothes ready for tomorrow.
She said,
that's
on a scale from 1 to 10, how cool is your mom?
Yeah.
She was like a 1.5. I was like 1 being the best. Nope, 10 being the best. So I'm like, who's cool? It's like our friend of mine, 16-year-old son. Like, he's cool.
Oh wow.
And I was like, she's like, you're just my mom.
So I want to ask you something. What does a CMO's job entail? Like, what is not the qualifications, but what is the actual job to do?
Yeah,
like your day-to-day work.
Every team is different. Okay. And that's the one thing I did not know coming into the NBA. Like I
just learned that just now. You just taught me.
The structure of every organization is different, a lot based on ownership. So you may have an owner that's very much into tech. You may have one that's private equity. You may have one that all different based on your CEO. You may have a CEO that's coming from marketing or revenue. So for the Hawks, when I came on board as chief marketing officer, it was really focused on advertising, promotion, social media, all of the outlets you see, billboards, out of home, all of our commercials, all those things. Yeah. That was it. Managing it, media buying, planning. Yeah. Then it grew. Yeah. And so it was like, all right, we would work with the local agency. And then we said, how about we bring that talent in-house? Because sports is fast. We're changing stuff all the time. So now we have an internal agency called Hawk Studios. Phenomenal talent. So they do all of our video content, motion graphics, graphic design, anything you see either in the arena, from our game open to all of that, we lead and started with Hawk Studios. Then it also grew into our merchandise. So Hawk Shop.
Yeah.
What we have, we do Hawk Shop, and we also have our online hawkshop.com. All of that is a part of the marketing team because we see it as a brand lever.
Yeah.
When I first got to Atlanta, people were not wearing Hawks gear.
Yeah.
It was a very different time, especially the kind of gear that we have now. How do we make it relevant to the city?
Very culture. Like you could, if you from here, you
We've
know what
evolved.
the Black Hawks mean.
Yeah.
You know what that means.
We've evolved in a lot of ways. So looking at, brand merchandising as through that lever was an important one. Then became game day presentation, which I love because it's really the opportunity from everything, the engineers in the building, all the boards that you see, the show itself. So working with Tigger, Shamia, Harry the Hawk, all of our dancers, the team, like they are phenomenal. That's a part of our marketing. And it also includes our community impact work. So everything we do in the community, whether it's our big annual Million Meal Pack event with State Farm, working with our youth basketball camps and clinics. So if your son ever does a Hawks basketball camp, that's part of marketing. We see that as generational fan building.
For sure.
Because if kids start playing ball when they're young and they have an experience that's connected to the Hawks, there's a much higher propensity that they would one day be basketball fans or fans of the Hawks.
Like I'm a diehard Knicks fan
because if you're from New York,
when I was 12, 13, I left New York when I was 12. When I was 8 and 9, my uncles would take me to the games.
It's that exposure.
I can't. Sports taught me about love. Sports taught me about love because the Knicks have been bad for so long now this season. Every year I start off and I would be like, man, I just got it. I know it's funny, but you know this shit is deep. I'd be like, man, I got to really disconnect from them this year. Like I gotta give up. Like, and how many seasons started where I was like, man, fuck the Knicks, fuck us, fuck them. And then game 12, I'm like, come on, man, give me something. We got there 4-8, like shit, like you don't care, like So it's like, and I knew I was like, man, you can't pray love away. You can't control love. It's in you. So once I understood that about love, I look at love different because of sports now. I swear, I'm like, you can't help who you love.
That's
you can't
awesome.
help how you feel. And sports taught me that.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
We look at our target audience, we call them next gen Atlantans.
Yeah.
So when we define it, we're like, it's not Gen Z, millennials or whichever. It's like next generation. So after 96, we know a lot of people moved to Atlanta.
Yeah.
But if you move to Atlanta from New York, you're going to bleed orange and blue no matter what I do.
Yes.
If you from Boston is going to be green.
Yes.
It's fine. But if you came here and then you have children here, we have the opportunity to be the team for your kids. So if we're consistently looking at that next generation and keeping them in the family from the beginning,
and then you play
all
the long generational play.
You have to.
Rather than playing, like, that's actually really smart.
You
that's
have to.
Really
and what
smart.
we learned through a lot of our research is 94, we had a dip. What happened in 94? We traded Dominique Wilkins. Yeah.
I remember
and
that.
so after that, there was a generation of people who were like, nah, all right, Hawks. And then we weren't doing our job as an organization at the time, being in the community, doing other things. I had people tell me they became season ticket members after we were the first NBA team to open up our building for early voting during the pandemic. Not even because of the team. They didn't even watch basketball, but they're like, based on what you do for our community, being true to Atlanta in a genuine sense.
And you know what it is, though? If you're a sports fan, you understand that there's only one winner at the end of every year.
Yeah.
So the other 29 teams, you got to find a way to keep people interested and keep people there. And some teams, some cities, if your team ain't winning this year, but why do we show up? That's the part.
Yeah.
That's the things that make it. I never looked at it like that, by the way.
Our owner, when Tony Ressler first came on board, he said, we exist to be a civic asset before we are anything else. So we look at our building as a town hall of the city. If something needs to happen, like it did during the pandemic, we have the opportunity to do that here.
Yeah.
And that was a really different mindset because we didn't really have that when I first started.
Yeah.
But all that falls within marketing as well as most recently entertainment industry relations because of people like you and what's happening in film and production and music in this city. How do we build on that and really incorporate it within our brand and connect it to the team so we can do more?
Exactly.
In the community.
I agree. I think you just changed my whole thought process on I'm like, by the way, I love the Hawks. Like, as long as any Hawks game, I'm cheering for them. As long as they don't play against the Knicks. It's the only time. I'm just being honest.
It's cool.
Steph Curry, my favorite player of all time, but when he playing the Hawks, I want the Hawks to win. So I love the Hawks, but it just, even me, and I moved here in 91, so it just felt like they didn't care for me to love them. And now so it's almost like I look at it like, how can they make an adult love them? And the reality is, you kind of can't. You can, but it comes over time. It's like slow. It's like my Uncle Michael, who if I called him right now, you don't understand. Our biggest beef now is, I'm like, I'm a fucking Knicks fan because of you, and now you only love the. He hates the Knicks and he loves the Hawks.
That's awesome.
Hates the Knicks, love the Hawks, and he's like, Ray, and you know his reason. I'm gonna tell you, his reason has nothing to do with it. He says, when you see the Atlanta Hawks, look at the fans. Ray, they're all black. Look at the courtside. Like, I don't focus on that because he's like, look at courtside. And he said, look at courtside at the Knicks. You got to be Tracy Morgan, Spike Lee. You got to be important and black to sit courtside. And the Hawks, you just got to fucking show up. And when he said that, I'm like, so my new statement is, I love the Knicks. I hate the fans. I hate the Knicks fans. I don't want to be around them. Like, I'm going to cheer from a square, my own little box. I'm not going to cheer with them because you start looking, I'm like, I love the Hawks fans because the Hawks fans are people, this is my community of people.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's the best part about the Hawks. I just went to the Boston game. You go to any game, Atlanta is the only place where you will see diversity in the audience.
Well, you know what's funny? You say, like, how do we get the adults? Once we redid Phillips Arena to State Farm Arena, and, you know, even with my team with game presentation, we said, how do we make this the best experience for any game in the NBA? So like, how we bring all of Atlanta to it. So there are people, like, especially, you know, a lot of the alumni and the players that are doing reporting and they're going from arena to arena. They will come to Atlanta and be like, oh, it's always a party here. Like, this is the livest experience of any, because everyone comes and it's like, all right, we want to make sure that back in the day, security was there to tell you where you can and can't sit. You know, now they taking selfies, they swag surfing with you, they spill a drink, they buying you a new one. It's like, how do we create, they got the Soul Train line when you leaving, if it's a win, you know, on the concourse. And that was a marked difference. And there are people who are like, this is just a great night out. They ask me, like, what do I see as our competition? It's not the Braves or the Falcons or United. It's your couch. It's Netflix. It's every restaurant in Atlanta. It's a restaurant
around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, Chef G. Garvin is our, you know, executive chef for the building, and he is phenomenal. But all of those things combined make it the experience. Or even if you're not a Hawks fan, you would want to come out to a game. And so that's the way that we can convert the adults. The youth, we want them to be fans.
Yeah, but they should, by the way, because they have their brains haven't been molded enough to be fucked up like some of us who are fans. Like, fucked up. Like, it makes me, hate that I'm a fan of the team. I really, like, I'm not now because they doing good now, but it's like, man, I love that. And I love that you guys, I love that shit. Mia's black. I love that it's hip hop being played in the arena. I love that they swag surf. I love that Killer Mike has a barbershop in there. Candy has a restaurant in there. It's so Atlanta.
That's the goal. JR Crickets.
I got to ask you a question. Just from a CMO question. I just got to ask you this.
Oh, man.
Do you not see, because you said they're not your competition, but I have to ask. I think the best activation in all of sports is happening right here in Atlanta. And it's called Beat the Freeze. You know what that is? Y'all know what that is, right? Okay, Beat the Freeze is, okay, so every Braves game, you get to it's this guy called Freeze. He's like Bio Freeze. He's like sponsored by somebody.
It is a sponsor.
But someone from the audience has to race him. He's like Michael Johnson. He's fast as fuck.
Yeah, and they let you start first.
And they let you get like a 10-second start. And you get a 10-second start, and it's like, who's gonna beat the freeze today? And you get like a 10 to 15, and you gotta run from one mound to the other. And when someone beats him, it's such a big deal. If someone comes close, it's such a big deal. But I was like, I'm asking, do you sit in your office and be like, what the fuck is I'll beat the freeze? What is I'll beat the freeze? I have one for you.
So we had one. We used to do a mosquito back in the day, and he was an and one baller. So it would be like, who's trying to like steal the ball and score on mosquito? And can nobody do it? And it's cool, but I think in every sport, there's different things that make it. Like, I love Atlanta United games.
I never
energy.
been.
Oh, what? You should definitely go to an Atlanta United game. And it's soccer. And I'm not even a huge soccer fan, but the energy of what they've been able to create. And it's different because we just talked about generational fan building. MLS is new. So they were able to build an entire city of fans because they're really like, no one has allegiances to any other team at this point.
So we have soccer now. Let's go. Exactly.
100%. Then they won a championship early, which made it even better.
And we didn't care like that.
But no, well, I mean,
we should have.
Hey.
That's an Atlanta problem, by the way. But the Hawks win. We are showing the fuck.
I mean,
Hawks, Braves, Falcons.
I'm ready to plan a parade right now.
What? Hawks, Braves, Falcons? We are showing the fuck out. Falcons and Hawks more than Braves. Once they move,
I mean,
to Marietta is like,
hey,
you know, y'all our
love my
team,
Braves
but
peeps,
yeah,
but it's a different thing. Even this season, like we introduced Jay Black, and he literally makes beats, and I was like, how do we bring in a producer that's producing live music in game?
Yeah.
And it was a challenge. It's like we always have to find ways to be fresh and new and different.
Yeah.
And so we partnered with Mr. Hanky, Corey.
Yeah, Mr. Hanky, that's my guy.
Yep, a couple years ago, and got him to create original beats as the soundtrack for the season for the city of Atlanta. So every year we're trying to find new and unique ways that's relevant to the city to create our Beat the Freeze. It ain't gonna be the same, but
because Beat the Freeze, that should be having that. I don't know nobody
like the
on
Home
the
Depot
Braves
ones
team.
too.
But I know what Freeze is.
I was like, I knew who Freeze was.
Yeah, I don't know who he is. Like, but when you raise him, I mean, and it'd be people out there, they be drunk, having their beer. Be like, hold my beer. Watch me beat this motherfucker. And then they go take off 15 seconds, and Freeze just tying the snoot. And it's like, go. And
He is gone.
And you see him, and you see it on the screen. You running, but you looking like, oh, this nigga's getting closer to the motherfucker. And you don't want to look back because you lose momentum. But I just want to ask you that because I'm like, Beat the Freeze made me want to go to Braves games. I don't know nobody on the Atlanta Braves. I come from the Bobby Cox, Dave Justice, Terry Pendleton era. I'm like, I don't know who none of these players are. Like, I don't know them, but I know the Freeze. I want to hang out with that nigga. I just like that. It's like, how you just that fast for no reason? I love that. So I was like, y'all should have like a Beat Dominique. 10-1. You got to go to 10. You get 9.
Like
he get 0. Play Dominique one-on-one. See if you can beat Dominique. Will beat they ass.
He absolutely
will
would.
dunk on your ass.
But he's busy. He's on broadcast. You know,
yeah.
he can't do these things.
Stacey Augman, somebody. I just want to see somebody from because everybody think I could have hooped back in the day. Play Stacey Augman to 10, and you get 9, and he starts at 0, and let's see who. And you get the ball. That would be funny to watch because it's like I just want to hit one shot.
He's get blocked every time.
He's gonna block like one shot, and then he win. So listen, all right, thank you. So I have a part of the show we do called Credit Check. I hate personally when people say give someone their flowers because that's rooted in death. Like we give people flowers at their casket. I'm like, I don't want my flowers. I want credit. I can leverage credit. I can't do nothing with the flowers, but I can leverage credit and do something. So we have this segment called Credit Check where we give someone like yourself a chance to shout out 2 or 3 unsung heroes in the Melissa Proctor story. Just 2 or 3 people who you like, man, thank you to those guys. Like,
I feel like I'm going to get beat up by all the other people I don't shout out.
That's why I say unsung. You can tell your husband, you're a sung hero. You know, it's unsung is the quick, it helps you a little bit, right?
Well, let me see. It's you know, women's history. So I'm going to shout out for my homies. One, I have to say my girl Jai Farrell.
Okay.
And a lot of people may know her, may not know her, but she's born and raised in Atlanta. She's the AGM at Hartsfield Jackson Airport.
I just seen that get announced, right? I just saw that, yeah.
Yeah, so she's been, you know, we worked together since we were interns at Turner back in the day and just been a part of each other's lives and careers. But that's my accountability partner, the person who will check me, the one who's like, what are you talking about? This don't make no sense. And I just truly, truly appreciate and value, you know, how much she's poured into my life and just seeing her ascent and rise and what she's been able to do. She did This Is My Airport shirt. That whole campaign, that was her back in the day. Like she's just done a lot of really cool things. Super Bowl and all the stuff with the airport.
Shout out to her.
So
shout out to Jai.
Super impressed with my homie. I gotta shout out Mr. Hanky. I gotta shout out Corey.
Okay.
And it's that's my like we met maybe a couple years ago here in Atlanta, just music stuff and really trying to figure some things out. But he has been a great sounding board, just really supportive, big fan of the Hawks and helping us. We're like, hey, you know, you need somebody to perform. You know, I connect you. Even the idea when we thought about creating this soundtrack for the season, he's like, I got you.
Yeah.
No problem. It's always being there and being willing to, you know, lend a hand and be supportive and just super relevant to what he's done for the city and music, and just to see that and still be so authentic and cool and down to earth. Like I've always been super appreciative of that. Let me see who else. I gotta give a shout out to Jennifer Dorian.
Okay.
And she is I call her my friend tour.
Okay.
So she was actually the first person. She's a friend tour. She was my mentor at first.
You better put that. I would that need to be the title of the book. I'm your new friend tour.
What? You could absolutely be my friend tour.
That's fire.
But she, like when I first started at Turner, I was like, she worked in brand strategy. And I was like, I want to work in branding. She's like, everyone wants to work for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. And it was true. You know, and over time, you know, I really, you know, worked with her. We built a relationship and like I helped her. She helped me. And so now she's the CEO of WABE, a local NPR. And so I'm on the board for that. But she has consistently been like a sound voice in my life and just an amazing person. So that's my friend tour.
I want to say something. It's nothing more beautiful than starting with someone and you guys going on separate journeys, but you start together and you both end up in place at the same time. Because there's no currency. There's nothing you could do for you or Jai that would make a difference to the fact that she was there from the beginning when we didn't know.
Correct.
That's like, I just love that. I just love that you have,
and everybody doesn't grow at the same time.
And that's what I mean. Like
the same level. Absolutely.
That mean it's like my guy, Rob Rumley, handles my money. The thing about him and I, like, now obviously he has billions of dollars in things that he represents. He's over, but I met him when he was passing out his card at talent shows in 2005 when he was walking up to people saying, "Hey man, if you ever make some money and you need help, I can help you." And I'm looking at him like, "Motherfucker, I'm broke as a, you think I don't even have a bank account. You talking about when I need professional, so to see us 20 years later and like, we doing stuff. He's at William Blair, like it's funny. I was doing a call with them and they were like, cause we about to do an event with them and they were like, "Thank you for everything you've done for William Blair." And I'm like, "Don't thank me, thank Rob."
Yeah.
I said when he was Merrill Lynch, I was Merrill Lynch. When he was Morgan Stanley, I was Morgan Stanley. And when he left to go to William Blair, I don't even know what William or Blair is, but I left with him. So don't thank me, thank him. And
that's awesome.
And to me, that's why I love that, because you can't replace that history of both of y'all walking into the darkness, not knowing what's at the end of that tunnel, and y'all don't hold hands. By the way, it's not like y'all hold each other hand. Y'all might meet up.
Yep.
You can get your ass kicked too. Me too. You got a boss
100%.
you hate. You know what I mean? And then you get to that place where it's like you got through all the turbulence, and now you kind of like at the top, and you're not coasting, but the hurt and the challenges are different now. Now it's more subtle, man. It's more quiet. Now you understand you playing a long game. You're not like you just like when you spoke about the Hawks, you're not speaking about how we're gonna get fans today. You're like, how are we gonna make fans for life?
Absolutely.
You see what I'm trying to say? So when you have that ability to play that long game, to me, and you play it and someone else that you knew played it and you guys get in the room and you, like Rob was here last night, we was talking and I'm like, "Bro, you're the only person I could just let talk." And he's like, I'm like, "Nah, you don't understand like how people want to sit in my office and just hear me talk. I just like hearing you talk because where he talks about money and he talks about it so matter of factually, like, yeah, because this deal and that." And I'm like, "Hold on, stop. So what does that mean?" He's like, "Well, that means," and you know what I mean? It's just a safe place. So I think that's beautiful that you and your girls are still together and you shouted out your girls.
Yeah, man.
To me, because in the world of women feeling like the only way to be seen and heard is to show my body, is to sell sex, is to do OnlyFans or whatever it is, that's the elevator path. Like, we took stairs. We don't gotta show shit when we get up there.
Of stairs.
We ain't gotta show shit. I wish the fuck somebody would ask me what I'm wearing today, bitch. I've been walking. I'm so in shape. I walked up 3,000 flights, nigga. I want someone to challenge me, so I know how that feels. So here's the last question of the day. So this show is called The God Show, which is the acronym for goats and underdogs. My question to you is, do you consider yourself a goat or do you consider yourself an underdog? And if you do consider yourself an underdog, what needs to happen for you to say, "I'm the GOAT"?
I will forever be an underdog in my mind.
That.
I mean, 100%, because I believe when you make it, that means you did. If you ain't got nothing to work for, like what you even here for?
Yeah.
So I really am all like, I do not lie when I say I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Because people may look at me and be
same
like,
way.
Be like, "Oh man, you made it." I was like,
I'm still having so much
Not
fun.
at
I don't
all.
know what's next. Same
every time
here.
they're like, "What's happened? What's next after the Hawks?" I was like, I couldn't tell you.
I
But I
just
love what
the
I'm
journey.
doing now,
Yeah.
and I'm blessed to be in this position. I'm thankful for it, and every day I'm trying to pay it forward and help as many people as I can. But for me, people are like, "What's the best job you've ever had?" I was like, mopping up sweat for the Heat. Day one. It taught me everything I needed to know. I'm with billionaire owners. I'm with people who are janitors, security staff. Got to treat everybody the same. Got to still work. And I'm mopping up sweat and how people treat you. Man, I learned so much about life through that job. And it made sure that I always knew that I wasn't below or above anybody.
I'm going to tell you something. You just said you was out with your daughter and a young lady walked up to you and said how she followed you, she admires you. I want to tell you that young lady would definitely call you the GOAT.
100%.
So you the GOAT.
I'm sure. Well, I appreciate.
And we don't allow people on this couch unless they are goated.
Oh, well.
So you are a GOAT. But the mind fuck is you have to always hustle like the underdog and have the underdog mentality. You don't become the GOAT.
In my mind, I'm the GOAT when I own the team.
Let's make sure Melissa is a motherfucker. Let's clap for that. We want you to be the first owner of the team.
Hey.
I want you to be the first owner of the team.
Black female team ownership. That's huge.
And what city better than Atlanta?
Absolutely.
And she did it on her own, from ball girl to owner.
Hey, that's the next book.
That's the next book. That's the next book. So before we get out of here, shout out to our sponsor. Shout out to Two Laws Distribution. Shout out to Tote and Carry. Shout out to Yoko Vodka, and shout out to you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, all of the stuff that costs you nothing for us to keep this kind of content going. Like, I'm like, every young black girl in America needs to watch this episode. Like, you to me is like, I'm gonna make my daughter watch it. She's 6. She's 3 minutes in, she's gonna tune it out. But every time I look back at her, listen, put the phone down.
It's me every day. Like, pay attention.
Yeah, like, goddamn, pay attention. And the crazy part is that they're on such, the hard part is that they're on such a beautiful ride and they don't know it. Mm-mm. And we want them to know it, but the only way they know it is by getting on a fucked up ride. And we don't want them on fucked up rides. No, so we kind of got to be okay with them enjoying the beautiful ride, because I knew, everyone in here knew that we were going to be here by the time you were born, so you didn't have those struggles. And she doesn't have them. So let's clap for your daughter for not having those struggles.
Amen.
That's the real clap. That's the real clap.
For sure.
Well, Melissa, I appreciate you doing the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We should do something with the Hawks. We should just interview Hawks fans. They should just set up and because I had this thing. I'm only saying this to you because I always want to know what city had the best fans and why. Like,
but you have to define what best means.
But that's the point. In Green Bay is different than it is in Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure.
But guess what? If you're in Atlanta, now you know what it's like in Green Bay. If you're in Green Bay, you know what it's like in Atlanta. And to me, the one thing that we need more than anything now is for us to come together and understand each other. And nothing has brought black, white, any race, finance together like sports.
Sports has the opportunity.
Nothing has brought us together. I don't give a fuck. I could hate you. You ever seen what's the movie? You ever seen that movie White Man Can't Jump? One of my favorite movies. It's a scene in the movie where the wife figures out that he hustled her, and she's like, he hustles you. And he was like, no, he didn't. She was like, fuck that. We going to their house to get our money back. So they go to the house, and the wives be like, nah. The wives go talk, and the guys are pissed at each other like, you supposed to be my friend. The game was on. 20 seconds later, what the fuck are they doing? That's what sports does. It makes us forget we don't like each other. It makes us forget that we were mad at each other. And it makes us only cheer for one side. And that's how powerful sports is. So we should do something. But thanks for being on the show. This is the God Show, and we are out. That was fun.